This is the start screen from Garancy Access Intelligence. What you can see is that it was designed from the beginning to be user-friendly for users from the different departments. So each user can identify easily his predefined reports by having business analytics, administration analytics, or audit analytics. It's a browser-based system, so no need to install something like a client in your environment. Every user can, just by having his credentials in the system and a link to the URL, can access the system. So let's start with a compliance indicator overview. We have spoken in the presentation a lot about compliance, and what we did is that we predefined KPIs, indicators that are of some compliance importance as a starting point for users in an audit situation. So you can see here that this is structured by users, accounts, roles, and groups. For the users, for example, you see there are 919 users in the system, 37 inactive users are listed as well. And in the following you see the lines giving you some precise information for compliance-related statements. So users with direct connected groups are stated here. This is, of course, if you are in a role-based access control, every direct group connection is sort of a vulnerability because you have no direct understanding why a group membership was given to a user. So this could be a starting point for investigation. You can see there are 48 users with direct connected groups from these 919. There are many more lines. We can go through that. Of course, you can see from the users here, users with high-risk groups, with high-risk roles, inactive users with active accounts. This is, of course, also some crucial activity because those accounts could be easily hijacked by other users without having the inactive user recognizing such an activity. So this information itself is already a report that you can compare this compliance indicator on a daily, weekly, monthly basis about the trends, if the number is growing. If you're asking if this is a report or a GUI, I can say it is both. So you can easily go in here and can say, I want this to be exported as a PDF, for example, so that you can open that and you have this with a timestamp and in a standard data format available for distribution so that you can send that by email to other users. But of course you can also export that for further operations to Word, to Excel, or even send it directly by mail. So there are many activities for interaction to use such a screen as a standard report. But of course it is also some interactive. I mentioned that Access Intelligence is to a large extent the capability of Access Intelligence is interaction. So what you can do here is with any of these figures you can use this as a starting point for drilling down into that system that I can directly see what are my 70 users with high-risk groups. I get the information about the user, about its job function, organization. I can sort this data. I can look for further information on this user, so I can load this to see what is his name, what is his address, what is his telephone number, and what is his manager. All this information is directly available. But I can, of course, continue to drill down. So we started saying those are the users with high-risk groups. And from this I can see that he has four roles. Where is he? Here he has the roles. And with these roles I can have a look what are the roles of that user. I can of course also get further information about these roles if I have no idea what casualty general management means. If there are descriptions available, it will be displayed. And so I get more information about the background, why this user, Arthur Brent, for example, has some high-risk profiles. And if I like, I can continue to investigate. I now understand that the high-risk role, the highest risk class is the casualty sales management role, and I can see that there are 14 other users assigned to that role. So I can continue to investigate what are these users, are they on the same level, or from which organizational units do they are, what other roles do they have. So I can continue really to walk through my data cube in the way as I explained as an example, as a metaphor, like the doctor getting from every answer new questions in order to investigate the data pool with regards to compliance issues. So that is one of the standard functionalities of Access Intelligence, that I can continue here to investigate my data. Of course, there are even more thrilling features, informations like orphan accounts, accounts without users. It's a high risk for a company if there are accounts orphan that they have not been deleted once their original owner has left. So furthermore, helpful features and information that help the owner, the company to stay compliant. Another segment, of course, we've spoken about the risk model. I can go here not just by the compliance indicator, I can have a direct look to the user risk profiles. You can see now the entire organization, 919 users are in that organization. And what you can see are the heat bars for the individual organizational unit. We are now on the top level of the organization, but of course I can set filters. So I can put on top the role risk, for example, that I'm just interested in groups in users who have a high role risk, and I have to move here this panel, otherwise I can't click on this button. I reduce the number to overall 51 users who have a high or increased role risk. And if I then also reduce my organization, not to all the companies, but I will go, for example, to, not the manager, the organization. If I go then to, for example, the IT department, corporate IT, and I like to view, oops, what have I done? Mismanaged here my own report. If I have a look to the corporate IT department, in this case I want to navigate, I see there are 9 users having a high risk profile. I can open that up. I have 28 users in that department, and I can drill down then to see in the application development there is the largest share of high-risk users. I can continue to explore, to analyze my data, where this risk is coming from. So you can see he has Cody Barclay, as a software developer with 2 direct roles, has a high-risk profile. If I drill even down to see what are his roles involved, you can see there is this NIP development is the highest role risk within his profile. And of course I can always get further information about what is really the task, the scope of a certain role, and I can see who is the owner and when was it created, and so on and so on. So powerful tools in order to drill down, to aggregate the large information base from a complete company down to the individual analytics that is driving some activities and can initiate some measures in order to be more compliant. Other aspects, if I'm not in the audit, if I'm just coming from the business layer, is user indicator. I can choose, if I'm the manager of a certain department, then of course this can be predefined. Let me again try to be the manager of the corporate IT, for example. In this case, the report is not just looking from the risk management angle, but it shows me really the information for all my departments, for all my co-workers. giving the information on the users in that organization, having this amount of counts, this number of roles being in that organization assigned to co-workers or that type of groups. So I can drill down, I can really see what is within my management responsibility, what type of groups are given to the users, what other users are assigned to these groups, so I can make sort of a peer analysis to compare the access rights of my users to other departments. And I can, of course, have looks into the individual profiles of each individual user by going down to the corporate IT for the different users here, the two on the management level, the personal assistant and the CIO with its accounts, roles, groups, and once again, I can of course continue to investigate this data by drilling down in the organization and in the data pool. Other aspects, if I don't want to do precise analytics, here you can see we have dashboards. So you can also get overview information from the dashboards by saying, okay, what are changed and new roles over the last days, over the last weeks, over the current month. This information is provided by the total number, and it can be, of course, also structured in different dimensions. So you can see what are the role changes with regards to risk groups. One group with high risk was modified or created over the last 10 days. And also these dashboards can help to have a quick view and a quick understanding about the changes in the compliance situation of access management. But it could be also, of course, a starting point, like in any point in access intelligence, a starting point for further investigation, since I can drill down into any type of report in those standard reports. But independent, how many standard reports Beta Systems is providing for customer analytics, there will be questions that can't be answered by the standard reports because they're very special, they're individual, and for those questions, we, with our system, can provide the most used and most experienced analytics system in the world, and this is Microsoft Excel. With the Microsoft Excel is able to work directly on the BI cube of Garancy Access Intelligence, but and that is very important that this difference to other systems is made clear to customers. Of course, every SQL database can be queried in a pivot table. There are database connectors to all database-related systems for Microsoft Excel. But the idea of ad hoc reporting means that it is available and transparent to the business layer. And if you just go to the SQL, to the database layer, you must be quite experienced with the table layouts in the database. You must understand what the table names are, what are the relations between certain objects. Different to that, Garancy Access Intelligence is really using the BI level, the cube data model, with a so-called, Microsoft is speaking of, a semantic interface that really makes it easy to understand for members from the department level what type of data is available. So if I, for example, here you can see all the information that is available with its attributes, so numbers of authorizations and so on. It's self-explaining. Let me do a quick report by taking the numbers of accounts in a system. So here are 40 accounts in that demo data that I have connected to that system, which is of course not very much. It is more like a KPI itself. How many accounts are there? If I add to this number of accounts, if I take, for example, the users that are connected to these accounts, I have to scroll down just to find the right users. You can see here the users that are connected to that system. And if I, for example, not just take the accounts, but also the group systems that are connected to that, I get a tabular view for John Berger that he has 5 accounts, 4 in Active Directory, 1 in LDAP. If I want to change my design, then I will take it's to the to the columns, and I will have a cross table showing all this information. And the advantage is I don't have to know anything about the table relation and the SQL database layout. I can really just here, if I'm here, I can ask for the properties, and to that user I can add information like, let's say, the organization directly, and the full name, and the user ID as well. So that is further information directly available. I don't have to take care where it is stored. I just say I want this information. So this is a way to do a fast ad hoc reporting that with the measures of Excel can be of course enriched, that I can add sliders on that information, so that I can say I want only based on the user account. Let me see if I can manage that here, doing the attributes, and put that slider based on the organization. So in this case, from my Excel table, I'm getting an interactive tool where I can decide on which user groups I want to select for my analytics. And since those Excel analytics can become very powerful, I can use that also to enrich my given capabilities from the standard reports in my web-based interface. So what you can see here is that if I go back to my analytics, that I also have the capability to use that portal to exchange predefined Excel tables via the portal, and this is also user-driven, so role-driven. So not every user is allowed to see all the Excel files. It would be something configurable to have this type of user group relationship available only for a certain group of users in that system. But I can use the portal system with the standard reports also to distribute predefined individual ad hoc reports and to make that available to a broader audience. So all these are capabilities of Garancy Access Intelligence Manager. The overall presentation of that, according to my time recording, was now something like 45 minutes. Of course, you can extend that to your individual needs if you want to do that.